I remember when I got my first paycheck from my corporate job, and I also remember how fast it went away. With constant inflows and outflows of money every month, you need a strong money management foundation to help you along your way. That is why in today's video, I am over 5 pieces of money management advice to help you along your financial journey. I'm Alex Marie, welcome to my channel, the one-stop shop for all things business, finance, and personal development. As a financial coach, I always try to teach tips and tricks that you can do daily to manage your money more effectively. And as we go through this list, keep in mind that we are not necessarily going in order of importance because all of these are super important, but we are going in a chronological order, meaning that you have to do the first few steps in order to do the last ones. But before jumping in, there is a little assumption that I have to make for all these money management tips. They all assume you follow a budget. Following a budget is the #1 money management advice that you need to follow. If you don't have a budget, all the other areas of money management fall apart because you don't have a strong foundation. Without that strong support, you don't really know how you're spending your money. Budgets set the layouts for your finances, therefore it's a no-brainer that if you want to manage your money correctly, you need to follow a budget. If you don't know where to start on creating your budget, you can watch my video that tells you how to do this, and I also have a free budgeting template that you can download by clicking the link in the description box below. So if you're ready to jump in like I am, click the like button and let's get started. So the first piece of money management advice is to track your spending. We do this in order to limit ourselves and avoid overspending. All those little trips to the coffee shop and getting M&Ms on your way from work back to your apartment so you can watch movies in your pajamas. Like, all these little expenses add up, and before you know it, you went over budget. It's so important to track your spending because this is the only way for you to know how much you're actually spending every month. By tracking your spending, you can answer questions such as, am I spending more than what I earn? Do I have money left over at the end of the month? Am I following my budget correctly? And am I allocating my money correctly between my wants and my needs? You need to know the answer to these questions in order to manage your money effectively. You can track your spending in many ways. You can use a spreadsheet, an app like Mint or Clarity Money, or you can even manually save receipts and keep a log. Single out a day periodically where you'll sit down with all your expenses and adjust your budget accordingly. I like to do this weekly, but the amount of times you do this depends totally on you and what you like to do. Money management advice #2, make saving a habit. If this is the first personal finance video you've ever seen, let me introduce you to a term that you will hear quite often, and that is to pay yourself first. Every personal finance coach, YouTuber, expert sounds like a broken record because we say this all the time. Paying yourself first means that when you first get your paycheck, the first thing you do is put money towards your savings and your investments. Examples of accounts in this category is your emergency fund, your financial goal fund, and your retirement accounts. Only after you set this money aside is when you start paying everything else. And if creating this habit does not come easily to you, set automatic transfers. You can set automatic transfers with your bank account, and it will transfer a fixed amount of money of your choosing into other accounts. And lastly, you choose the term. So it could be weekly, monthly, every 2 months, whatever you prefer. This is extremely valuable because it prevents us from not saving money just because we forgot to do so. So set those automatic transfers and start saving. Money management advice #3, give yourself a limit for unbudgeted spending. I am a strong believer in this tip because I didn't used to do it. I didn't know where to track all these random expenses that I was having every month. Therefore, I created a section on my budget called miscellaneous and called it a day. Like, no matter how organized you are with your finances or in life generally, you are always going to have these random expenses that are not planned for. For example, you have a work bake sale and you offer to bring in cupcakes. But only after you offer to bring in cupcakes do you realize you don't have a cupcake tin. So you have to go and buy a cupcake tin in order to bring the cupcakes to work. Was this cupcake tin planned for? Absolutely not. Does this cupcake tin fit into your restaurants, groceries, or personal care sections in your budget? No, it doesn't. This is why you create a section on your budget solely for these unprecedented purchases. The best way to tackle these random expenses is to give them a place on your budget and give yourself a limit on these expenses, whether it be 100 or 200, whatever you feel like putting in there. But the important thing is that you give yourself a limit, because if you give yourself a limit, you can track yourself against it and you can organize yourself accordingly. The purpose is to give yourself some room for error. It's hard putting every single expense you have into labeled buckets. By doing this, you're planning for unforeseen expenses, and you're not going to go over budget because you're tracking these expenses. And as a separate little tip kind of looped into this one, whatever you don't spend on your budget, make sure that you're reinvesting it or putting it towards your savings. So if it turns out that you didn't have 20 random expenses as you were expecting this month, all that money would go towards your savings or your investments. Money management advice number 4, make your own financial system. There are certain steps that you take every single month regarding your finances. You have to pay your rent, you have to pay your credit cards, you have to put money towards your investments and your savings. And by creating your own system, you're ensuring that these things get done. Just remember that late payments stay on your credit record for 7 years. Here are some tips to follow when creating your financial system. Set automatic transfers, and this was covered in the last section, but the idea behind it is that you don't forget to save money or pay a bill. Secondly, have separate accounts for different purposes. By dividing your accounts, you're not only preventing the urge to tap into your savings, but you're also getting more accurate visibility into where you stand with your goals. So for example, if you have an emergency fund, you're saving for a house, and you're saving to go on vacation, you would have 3 accounts, one for your emergency fund, one for your vacation fund, and one for your housing fund. Next, you're going to want to smash the like button in this video for the YouTube algorithm. And lastly, stay consistent. It might take a little time for you to get used to your system, and that's okay. The most important part is that you don't give up and keep at it, because having this system will make your life easier. It's almost as if you're putting your finances in autopilot. It's almost like you're autopiloting into financial freedom. Lastly, money management advice number 5, and this is a big one. If you take anything away from this video, well, I hope you take all the tips away, but if you take anything away, make sure this is one of them. Do not increase your expenses in parallel to your income. This is something that I've seen many people do, and it's a very common mistake, because if you don't have to increase your expenses, you shouldn't. One of the quickest ways to achieve your financial goals is to increase your income, but then leave your expenses just the same, because that way you have a lot more money to put towards your financial goals. And I'm not saying that you're never going to increase your expenses. Eventually you will, and you should be able to splurge on yourself after all your hard work. But be careful, because splurging too soon can set you back on your journey into reaching your financial goal. Delaying gratification is something hard to do, especially when we just got a pay raise and we're really tempted to get the newest model of the car we've always dreamed of. Trust me, your future self will be very thankful that you waited just a tiny little bit more to getting the dream car. Like how Robert Kiyosaki said in his book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, would you rather look rich or be rich? And I'm going to quote Dave Ramsey here. If you will live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. Did you understand why all these money management tips assumed you had a budget? It's everything. It's the most important thing. It's the secret sauce in building a strong foundation for your finances. It's the secret ingredient in the Krabby Patty formula Plankton always wants. If you don't have one, create one, give it a name, and make it your best friend. Okay, well, maybe don't give it a name. That's a little bit weird, but create one. If you don't know how to create a budget or what is the right way to do so, watch my video Budgeting 101. And if you already know how to create one, but you want a spreadsheet template that's super user-friendly, all the formulas are already in there, click the link in the description box below to download one. I truly appreciate all the support you give me, and if you want to help other people see this information, make sure to like this video, as it really helps grow the channel and exposes this information to more people. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and if you found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, make sure to share it with a friend, and you both can be financially responsible together. Check out the other videos on my channel. I'm sure you will find something of interest to you. And remember that when it comes to finance, ignorance is not bliss. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next Wednesday.